We borrowed money against the hotel, and then we did a rights issue. And a rights issue is something that is usually, as a company in real weakness, does a rights issue. It's dilutive. It's some people say it's a gun to the head to your shareholders, because you're basically saying a rights issue is you give every shareholder the right to buy the stock at a discount. People often falsely give me too much credit. I think the wheels were in motion, and it was just I was at the right place, right time for me to join and make an impact, or in a small way. I was with the UTXO team, and I still am in a capacity. And so the team kind of was introduced to Simon, and Simon was, it was a company that was obviously, basically on the verge of death from the COVID pandemic. And, the stars aligned. Yeah. For a Bitcoin strategy in Japan, there was no other sort of vehicle there, and we had a big opportunity and decided to take a shot. Yeah, I mean, I think it started with top down, bottom up philosophy of Bitcoin first, Bitcoin only. We came out and decided all of our economic calculations going to be in Bitcoin. Obviously at a low base, it's not really material, but for the market, it was unique in Japan. No one had ever said that. I mean, really, no one outside of strategy, MicroStrategy at the time, had said that in general, that we're going to evaluate all economic calculation in Bitcoin, in BTC terms. So we said, we're going to sell some equity, we're going to sell debt, we might sell hotels or whatever we can find for Bitcoin. And the market really resonated with that. So it's come in different flavors, and we've tried different things, and the implementation has looked different as we've sort of figured things out. But yeah, I mean, it started with just an idea, and then quickly sort of we caught lightning in a bottle, and it's snowballed into much more. We were tasked with essentially reverse engineering the ATM facility. So one of the things that we do as a Bitcoin treasury company is when the market when it's advantageous to do so, we can sell equity and we can buy Bitcoin. And if we're the valuation's at a premium toward an asset value, then it's accretive on a per share basis. And so there's no ATM facility in Japan. So in the US, you just file a shelf registration or an S1, and you can, the strategy is a seasoned issuer, so they can file at 8 a.m. and they start selling stock at 9:30. Mm-hmm. For us, it's not that simple. And so we reverse engineered that in Japan. It's a moving strike warrant. Technically, it's a stock acquisition right with an exercise price adjustment provision. It's a moving strike warrant is just a simpler way to say it. But what it means is if our stock goes up, it's not a fixed strike. It's not saying, hey, this is a right to buy the stock at 100 and it stays there. If our stock is going up, then this moving strike warrant is going up, and vice versa. And the way it's structured is, we're only selling equity into strength. So when the stock's falling, our counterparty is not selling shares, and we're not exercising shares. So it's a really beneficial plan and execution strategy for our shareholders. And we had tremendous success in the first quarter of the year implementing our 210 million plan, which was issuing 210 million shares to raise about $650 million over about 60 trading days. Yeah, it was kind of funny back in the day. Just about a year ago, really, people were giving me a hard time, or kind of joking back and forth that we were just too small and it was gimmicky, right? We were buying 20 Bitcoin, 30 Bitcoin at a time, and at that, for us at the time, it was a 20% increase in our stack, so it was meaningful. But it was really about, we were saying to the market, this is our strategy. We have no intention of changing. We have no intention of stopping. Even if it's 20 Bitcoin, that's significant to us.
Yeah. That's going to be a lot someday.
Yeah, it's a lot now. But yeah, so people thought it was just a gimmick, but for us, we were just in the early days, right? And so, now the past 3 buys, it's been over 1,000 Bitcoin each, which is a lot of money, $100 million. But yeah, it was, we've really were taking any tools we could get, right? So we borrowed money against the hotel, and then we did a rights issue, and a rights issue is something that is usually, as a company in real weakness, does a rights issue. It's dilutive. It's some people say it's a gun to the head to your shareholders, because you're basically saying a rights issue is you give every shareholder the right to buy the stock at a discount. So if you don't exercise your right, you get diluted, and usually the stock falls. So usually it's a lose-lose for a rights issue. Shareholders don't like it. For us, we did a rights issue and the stock tripled. And so a lot of things that kind of flew in the face of like the efficient market hypothesis. But it was, to us, it was validation. Like shareholders don't want Bitcoin,
Yeah.
At the time, our rights issue was like to raise 80% of our market cap, which was $70 million. So it was significant. But yeah, all that sort of stuff in the early days was us, sort of getting to the scale that we are now, where we can really efficiently, run our playbook and run what looks more like what MicroStrategy is doing. When we put out this 555 plan last Friday, a week ago, it is a projected 90% dilution in share terms to raise $5 billion. And the Japanese market went, like everybody had an opinion on it. Either you loved it or you hated it and thought it was crazy. But, there was three reasons why it was so crazy. Is one, like the size of it. Two, the terms, right? Like the size had never been seen before. It's the largest stock acquisition rights deal in Japanese history. We issued them at a premium to the market. So our counterparty, there's three tranches. One's at a 0% discount, one's at a 1% premium, one's at a 2% premium, meaning that the stock has to be up 1 or 2% for there to be any incentive to sell shares and exercise. And so, that had never been done before. And then three, the craziest thing about both of those was that there was this massive dilution event. It was at a premium, two things that no one had ever seen before in Japan. And the stock was limit up after hours. So it was like this massive, everybody was talking about it because it was three things that were confounding to the market for traditional investors.
Right.
But for our investors, like
they get it.
They only want Bitcoin. So when we come out with a plan that says, hey, we want to buy 1% of the Bitcoin supply over the next 30 months, we're pretty underlevered right now. We don't have a lot of debt. We have a little bit. We have about $80 million of debt. But we quickly sort of extinguish that debt periodically through these moving strike warrants, and then relever when we think it's appropriate. But yeah, I mean, traditionally, approximately, we're about 10 to 1 over collateralized. Right now, I think we're 11 to 1 over collateralized. A couple of weeks ago, we were 70 to 1 over collateralized, which means that Bitcoin could literally go down 98%.
Wow.
So I think our strategy is to stay, we're going to be aggressive, but at the same time, we're not going to get over our skis in terms of leverage. At least that's the plan. And then two, in terms of the operating business, there is still the hotel. We still have the hotel, but about 88% of our revenue in the first quarter, operating income of the business was actually premiums from the Bitcoin options market. So we're getting paid to buy Bitcoin through our treasury operations. And that's a bit, in the weeds, but that's revenue and that's